Bob Melvin is out as Giants manager. What did Buster Posey had to say, and how in the world did we get here once again? That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140 as well, the Alan Stiles Show, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Be sure to check that out, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Bob Melvin's out. It's over. We've talked about it so much on this show, and it's over. So we're breaking all of that down as the Giants have some explaining to do and some decisions to make moving forward on what in the world and who in the world they are looking for to be the leader of this team. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. He's gone. He is gone. And, you have to be very careful with things like this, because I know that we spoke last week and there were some viewers of the show and listeners of the show, and I appreciate you for reaching out and supporting me and the Locked On brand as well. And there were some questions about, Alan, we don't want to hear you happy or wanting somebody to get fired. Well, I don't want anybody to get fired. I never wanted anybody to get fired. And I don't like when people get fired in regular life, in normal life, or if they're in this industry and in this business of sports, right? A fan, if I'm a fan of a team, or even if I'm not a fan of a team, I don't want to see people lose their job and lose the way that they make money. With that being said, you're paying your hard money to go to these games. You're paying your hard money to support this team, whether it be through what you buy, what you wear, where you go, all those things. So you want a winning product. And doesn't really matter what I think, because I'm not the one in charge of the decisions. But you know who did feel the same way as Alan Stiles? Turns out Buster Posey felt the same way as Alan Stiles, and Buster Posey decided that this wasn't good enough. So to all those writers out there who during that 3-week stretch, and what was crazy is it wasn't even as if the Giants got into the playoff race through that 3-week stretch. I mean, they got closer to it, and I guess technically they were a part of it, but that stretch just got them in the conversation as far as being a respectable team again. And they're safe now. We're ready to say that Bob Melvin is safe now. He was never going to be safe after that. They had to make it into the playoffs. There are 3 wild cards now. There's no excuses, right? And you have to look at this thing, and we're going to hear from Buster Posey. I have a ton of those quotes. You have to look at this thing, and you have to figure, are we moving in the right direction, right? Are we going to be good enough moving forward? And I do think track records matter. I saw somebody say this isn't the same as Bob Melvin and what happened with the Padres and what happened in some of his other stops. Okay, cool. You can say that if you want. It really doesn't matter. They weren't good enough. And the rest of the organization didn't think that Bob Melvin was the guy for the job. So that was a decision that was made this morning. Here is the official statement. The San Francisco Giants today announced that the club has dismissed manager Bob Melvin. After meeting with ownership, I met with Bob today to inform him of my decision, said Giants president of baseball operations, Buster Posey. On behalf of the organization, I want to express my appreciation to Bob for his dedication, professionalism, and class. I wish him all the best. After careful evaluation, we determined that making a change in leadership was in the best interest of the team. The last couple of months have been both disappointing and frustrating for all of us, and we did not perform up to our standards. We now turn our focus to identifying a new leader to guide us forward. Then at the very bottom, they have Melvin went 161 and 163 in his 2 years as Giants manager. So as far as how I feel about this, I think the Giants made the right decision. I also didn't really want the Giants to hire Bob Melvin in the first place. So I wish I was wrong, and I wish the Giants were playing. I was talking to Jeff Carr, who does Locked On Reds. We were talking earlier today. They're getting ready to have a really fun podcast where they combine all of the National League playoff teams, and I'm sitting there looking like the Squidward meme, looking out the window because I'm Locked On Giants, and our season's over. So I was not moved when Bob Melvin was hired, and I'm not really surprised that it didn't work out because I just think that he's a great guy. Everybody likes him as a person. That's the first thing they'll say. But I just think that there are so many new managers out there and options and young blood and guys that can really infuse a new feeling into the game. I felt like at the time that's kind of what the Giants had done, even though Gabe Kapler isn't terribly young, but that's kind of how he acts. And he's got, he looks the way he looks, and some people love it. Some people, it annoyed them for whatever reason. So you get Gabe Kapler from the Phillies, right? Then he's talking about the different burgers, and people just didn't really like Gabe Kapler. He was too new school. So very similar to what we see when it comes to politics and anything like that. What happens after a certain group has moved in a direction or has kind of ran things for a bit? It switches. It goes back and forth. That's the same thing that happens in sports as well. You have kind of a new age guy. So because the new age guy, it didn't work out there. Now let's go old school. He was a safe pick. That's what Bob Melvin was. He was a safe pick. He was somebody that had familiarity with Matt Chapman. He had familiarity with the Bay Area. He had familiarity in the NL West. They let him go. The Padres did. So there was a lot of familiarity there. And the Giants wanted to make sure that if they were going to be wrong, it's sometimes better to be wrong with somebody that no one is going to say, what the heck were they doing hiring that guy? If you look at a draft, right, and I've always said this, NBA draft, MLB draft, any of these drafts, it's really not that big of a deal. It stinks for the team. But when you draft a bust, as long as that bust was somebody that no one saw coming as a bust and everyone just assumed you would take that person, you don't reach, then people say, hey, it's a gamble. But when you go out there and draft somebody that nobody thought was going to go that high, and then they're a bust, now you look crazy. So the Giants felt, look, it might not work out with Bob Melvin, but we aren't going to look crazy if it doesn't work out because Bob Melvin has enough respect throughout Major League Baseball that it ain't going to look crazy. If we go out there and try to get spicy and go get a first-time manager or someone like that, and it doesn't work out, we're going to look nuts. So they made the safe decision. It didn't work out for them, and now I am very curious where they head next. And tomorrow's show is really where we will break down who could take the helm. Today, we're continuing to break down everything that happened today. Buster Posey had some things to say, so we will go over Buster's quotes and what he means by them when we return. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. I always reach for my favorite flavor, Apple Bash, because it's refreshing and gives me that quick lift before a busy day. Honestly, I love how fast it kicks in and that it's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy Shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings on the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I've used caffeine toothpicks before in my big meetings and long drives. They give me energy without the jitters, and flavors like peppermint watermelon ice actually taste great. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com, use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code locked on. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks. Okay, this is what Buster Posey had to say. A couple different quotes that we wanted to run through for you. And he says, we've got to get back to a place where we are getting in the playoffs. We're making runs in the playoffs. That's what our fan base deserves. That's what the city deserves. Buster also said he's generally pretty open with the managerial search. His main goal is to find someone who is obsessive about the details, obsessive about work, and getting the most out of our players and our staff. He said this regarding who he's looking at. Quote, I have people in mind, but I'll keep that to myself right now. No timetable on my end. We want to make sure we get it right. He was also asked about the fact that they gave Bob Melvin that option, and he said, I think we all felt that the season was headed in a direction that we didn't want it to go. And the hope was that picking up that option provided a morale boost within the clubhouse. It gave us, for that time, some consistency going forward. So there you have it. Basically, Buster admitting, yeah, we made this deal because we wanted to kind of sway things in the right direction, right? And honestly, it didn't work. Clearly, it didn't work. This was Buster on the 3rd firing in 3 years. It's not ideal, right? Definitely not ideal. Said he feels that when you have a bad year, you can't say, we'll do the same thing this year for the next year. And I think that's a huge part of this, because a lot of people said, well, all you need to do is get pitching, you get this, you get that, they'll be okay. I think that they saw enough just with Bob Melvin, which is funny because it's not as if the team wasn't riding for Bob Melvin. Clearly, Elliot Ramos and, Logan Webb, he kind of went back and, not that he went back and forth, but Logan Webb did say, we are losing, but Logan Webb has seen a lot of things change in his time with the Giants. But there was really no thought that the Giants and that Bob Melvin, that he had lost the locker room or lost the clubhouse. I don't think that was really a look at it. Sometimes I guess there's something in between losing a clubhouse and not motivating a clubhouse, or maybe not resonating with the clubhouse. When I think of losing a clubhouse or losing a locker room, I think these guys don't even want to hear this person talk. They don't even want to look at this guy. They're just sick of it. I've seen it time and time again with other sports teams. So clearly that was not the case for the Giants and Bob Melvin, but there's also something in the middle of that, and that middle was basically the idea of Bob Melvin not motivating these guys to play better. And this is where the conversation turns into, well, players need to just play better regardless, and it's not on Bob Melvin to motivate these guys. Their pocketbook should motivate them. Their wallet should motivate them. I'm not even saying you're wrong, but when we have that conversation, it's a very slippery slope. And at that point, let's just go back to player coaches. right? Like LeBron wants to be or something like that. Let's just go back to player coaches, because now, because in the way that you're attempting to defend the manager or coach, you're almost making it seem as if they're not even needed or they're not even necessary. There came a time that stretch that they went on, right, from what was it? Really just the second half of the season, but everything leading up when we were talking about 1901 and different presidential administrations that we had never even thought about in years and years and years, and the type of technology that was around the last time they had that type of home losing streak. That's what did it. I honestly think it was that home losing streak that did it for the Giants. I think that's what did it for the Giants, because you simply cannot lose at home the way they lost at home. Because it's one thing to lose on the road, right? It's one thing to lose on the road when you don't got your home cooking. Maybe expectations are a little bit different. But when you lose, and you see it here, yeah, they won their last 4 games. And that's the thing. We haven't done this show since Friday. So much has changed. They ended up sweeping. And I personally thought that they were going to keep him. A lot of people said, Alan, it shouldn't matter whether they sweep the Rockies or not. I didn't disagree with you. I just thought that was an easy reason for the Giants. You got Bob Melvin doing the great job and letting Wilmer Flores get the standing ovation, all this stuff. I simply thought it was enough to at least get through next season. That's what I thought. And I was wrong. And again, kind of glad that I'm wrong. Now, before they lost and got swept, or they lost 3 out of 4 to the Dodgers, right? I also think a part of this, as I'm looking at their schedule right now, you can't get beat down to the NL West. You can't just get absolutely owned by the NL West. But this right before the streak happened, this is what happened, man. This is where everything just went south. I mean, July, it's just a bunch of red. It's just all L's. July 18th, they were on a 4-game losing streak. July 25th, they went on a 6-game losing streak, right? And they won 2 games. So after that, they lost 8 out of 10 to end the month of July. Then they played decently, right, against and you're losing to the Mets, fine, but you got swept to the Pirates, or by the Pirates, at home. That's when this thing, okay, we're not working out here, and I get it, the trade deadline changed some things, but you get swept by the Pirates, right? You had the Mets a ton. You do beat the Pirates, but you lose the series to the Nationals. This is what did it right here. That crazy homestand that we talked about. They lost the series to the Nationals, that 2 out of 3. Then they got swept by the Padres. Then they lost the series to the Rays, all at home. All at home. They lost 7 straight at home, ended up losing 11 out of 13 games. That wasn't all at home, but in general, those next 13 games, they lost 11 of them. And you lost, what did I just say, 6 or 7 at home. And 2 of them were to the Nationals. And the Rays were decent. They weren't terrible, but that essentially kicked off the 2.5-week hot stretch for the Giants. But it was too late by then. And it was still too late. And you can say, well, technically it wasn't, but now we know that it was, because the Giants are done. And what they had to do when we were doing all this math, they put themselves in a cave that they could not climb out of. And technically they did for about a day, for about 12 hours, but they burned themselves out in the process. You ever notice that when you're watching any of these sports, right? Football, basketball, they come back from a 30-point deficit, but then they have nothing left because there's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they burn themselves out trying to tie up the game. That's what happened. So Buster Posey saying it's not ideal, another firing, the third in a short amount of time, the third in 3 years. That's brutal. Now he's talking about who he wants. He's pretty open. He does have names in mind. And he admits that the option was just to fire everybody up. That did not make them feel like they were connected to Bob Melvin for the foreseeable future, or at least for the next year even. And last but not least, quote, "We've got to get back to a place where we are getting in the playoffs. We're making runs in the playoffs. That's what our fan base deserves. That's what the city deserves." One more segment with you. Let's keep the conversation going on how in the world the Giants even got here. More Locked On Giants coming up. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body, since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. I have a couple buddies that currently use Nutrafol, and it's really cool to see their confidence come back, and they're really happy with the product. And you can feel good knowing that Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. I've been reaching for my new favorite pants almost every day. My Doer jeans. These are the most comfortable pair of jeans I own. I almost forget I'm wearing jeans at all. I wear them to work, running errands, and just chilling around the house. They're antibacterial, meaning they stay fresh longer, so I can wear them more and wash less. The jeans are made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. Keeps you cool and comfortable as temperatures change. Great for any season. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear, the best of both worlds. Designed to look great and stay comfortable all day, no matter what you're doing. Doer are pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. There's a reason why they call them the world's most comfortable pants. But don't take our word for it. Go try on a pair for yourself. Doer just opened a store right here in Hayes Valley, so you can feel the difference firsthand. Go check them out at 567 Hayes Street. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnSF. So how in the world did the Giants get here, and what should be their thought process moving forward? The San Francisco Giants officially dismissed Bob Melvin on Monday, concluding his 2-year tenure in San Francisco. It's a move that's as jarring as it is overdue, especially considering the front office exercised his 2026 option just months ago in July and publicly touted their support for him at that time. One of the most striking facets of this firing is the optics. NBC Sports Bay Area pointed out how odd it is that just 3 months after picking up his option and praising him as, quote, the right person guiding this team forward, the Giants reversed course and parted ways. The timing, they argued, sends a message about the volatility of managerial security in this modern front office era, and raises questions about whether that option pickup was ever intended as real stability or merely a temporary move to quiet speculation. Internally, there's acknowledgement that the decision wasn't a failure of effort. Melvin was well regarded by many in the clubhouse. As NBC's Alex Pavlovich noted, this termination is a bad look for a franchise that has long prided itself on continuity and loyalty. Players like Matt Chapman had praised Melvin's steadiness and honesty. Even Logan Webb, after his latest start, defended Bob Melvin, calling him a great leader of men. But the results, or lack thereof, made the difference. The Giants finished 81-81, missed the postseason again and endured periods this year where the roster seemed to unravel. NBC wrote that after the option exercise, the team proceeded into another second half collapse, including stretches where they lost 6 straight games and saw attendance decline. And we know that that can't happen. The drought of consistent execution and closing out tight games ultimately outweighed prior goodwill. Posey, in his remarks, acknowledged the dilemma of instability. It's definitely not ideal, but unfortunately, we have high standards, and I hold myself to those same standards. The new direction Posey seeks is a manager with a different voice and an obsessive attention to detail, qualities he implied were missing this season. As the Giants embark on a managerial search, they now must choose someone who can restore consistency, demand accountability, and maybe finally deliver postseason results in San Francisco. It's crazy that this is where we're at right now. I saw somebody say, we went from, and now look, it was a different time, but we went from celebrating 73 home runs to literally everyone losing their mind over Willy Adames hitting 30. Now, look, that's something specific to, could it be Oracle Park or just the hitters in general? But you look at Willy Adames and the 30 home run drought finally done with, the streak that's been going for the inability to find a left fielder, right? And look, that streak's been going and the Giants won championships. So we understand that you can still do that. But a lot of these things where you're going from celebrating championships, and they love to parade around those 3 World Series any chance they get, to scratching and clawing. And I think that's the worst part, to be honest, about this season, is that the National League was for the taking. Look, the Phillies are probably maybe outside the Phillies. The Phillies are a well-oiled machine. They're a monster. But the Phillies always choke in the playoffs. We've seen this from the Phillies before. The Dodgers and their pitching can't get it together. The Padres, more choke artists. Outside of that, yeah, the Brewers, they're cool. But these are teams that are always really good in the regular season and they can't figure it out in the postseason. I know the Dodgers just did, but their pitching has really been an issue. So this was a huge opportunity for the Giants that I believe didn't help. If there were legitimate teams, then the Mets were a complete disaster, right? The Reds found a way to sneak in and everyone thought they were done. So not only did they miss the playoffs, they missed a playoff season where I believe they thought, or a season to get into the playoffs where I believe they thought we got a real opportunity here. This is a wide open season. We got the pitching. Verlander starting to turn it on later in the season. Now, they did have to sell at the deadline, but then the Diamondbacks didn't get in either. I think, funny enough, the Giants ended up finishing above the Diamondbacks, but we have an opportunity to do some things, and we just weren't able to do it. If this was a situation where this is juggernaut after juggernaut, then that would be different. But with 3 wild cards and you're battling, and to see the Mets implode the way they imploded, I mean, I guess that's one way to feel good about things. At least you're not the Mets. At least you don't have the craziest payroll in baseball and you're at home too. But outside of that, the Giants hold themselves to a high regard. They hold themselves to a high standard. And I think Buster Posey is coming in here saying, enough is enough. We're going to get this thing right. We're going to make sure that we get back on track to where we're at least competing in the playoffs. You can't ever promise a World Series because you never know what could happen, but this is just not going to fly anymore. We can't continue to do this. So I wish the best. In closing, I wish the best to Bob Melvin. Probably won't be his last job. I mean, obviously he's going to be around baseball. Might be his last job if he wanted to be, but I'm sure somebody out there would love his services. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out in San Francisco, but it's time to turn the page and find out what exactly Buster Posey wants in his next manager to figure out how to get this team back to the promised land. Not close to the promised land. Get them on a bus, get them on a train, get them on a plane to the promised land. They're not even moving in that direction as of right now. They're making good movements, right, with who they've acquired. And I do wonder how this affects the time frame with the right field question, the second base question. You need more pitching. How does Buster prioritize all this? Because he did say he's not going to rush it. And at the same time, this isn't the same as other sports. I don't think you need to not sign a Kyle Tucker because you don't have a manager yet, because it's not the same as, his play style or whatever it is. It's not the same as a quarterback and a coach or even a star player in basketball, something like that. It's not exactly the same. So maybe, and we'll know more as the days go by, whether they're going to decide on doing something immediately or just focusing on manager first. And if we miss out on whoever, we miss out on whoever, how that will all unfold. Thank you for watching Locked On and listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles Files with an I, and on the Locked On Giants account. We really appreciate it. The offseason is here, and we have a lot of questions, and those questions are not going to go away quickly. And we have you every single day until those questions get answered. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. A local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until tomorrow, we will talk to you then. Peace.